The movie kicks off with a Yakuza boss named Oyabun punishing his men. He ordered them to sever their fingers to make amends for their mistake. Two of the men reluctantly cut off their fingers, but the last one tried to pull a fast one on his boss. The boss became so furious that he instantly beheaded the man with his katana. Afterward, he ordered the remaining two men to travel to a town named Normal in the US and take care of the gold hidden in a bank there. Cut to the next scene. 3 weeks later, Ulysses Richardson was appointed as the temporary sheriff of Normal after the sudden death of the former sheriff Gunderson the previous week. Deputy Mike picked him up from the motel and drove him to the sheriff's office. Upon arriving, Richardson ran into a complainant named Tom, who was misbehaving with Deputy Sally over the issue of being constantly troubled by his neighbor. Deputy Blaine stepped in, reassuring Tom that he would handle the matter himself. Richardson took over the sheriff's office and looked at Sheriff Gunderson's pictures hanging on the walls. From a drawer, he pulled out Gunderson's death certificate and discovered that he had died from a heart attack, certified by a doctor named Walter. Afterward, he stepped into the armory and found it stocked with highly efficient guns and explosives that were not supposed to be there. Later that night, Richardson arrived at a strange restaurant with firearms mounted on its walls. He asked Ernie, the restaurant owner, about them. Ernie responded that his grandfather had been collecting the guns after the war until he died. Satisfied with the explanation, Richardson ordered meatloaf for dinner. Later, he returned to his motel and was haunted by a nightmare about a girl screaming at him. Richardson jolted awake. Suddenly, he heard a noise outside the motel. He grabbed his gun and stepped outside, only to find a giant moose with a box of paint hanging from its horns. Richardson took a picture and walked away. The next day, he visited a hardware store where the customer was already having a heated argument with the store owner over the high prices. Mike escorted the elderly customer out of the store before the situation escalated further. Richardson noticed a cabinet secured with several locks and asked the owner what he kept inside. The owner replied that it contained stump removers. At that moment, an elderly lady rushed in and pulled the sheriff away to her yarn store. She told him that she had ordered pink yarn from a seller, but they had sent her something else instead. Richardson said that he could not help her with the issue and left with Mike. Sometime later, Richardson visited Sheriff Gunderson's house and joined Mike for a morning feast. Later, Richardson entered Gunderson's room, where he discovered a picture of Alex sitting on the table. Meanwhile, Dr. Walter arrived and introduced himself to Richardson. However, Richardson already recognized him because he had seen his signature on Gunderson's death certificate. Richardson asked Walter how Gunderson died. Walter explained that a couple of Wednesdays ago, around 3 in the morning, Deputy Blaine had found Gunderson lying buried in the snow. He had a fishing rod in one hand and an auger in the other, so Walter assumed he had gone ice fishing. Richardson did not seem convinced by the explanation. Suddenly, Mayor Kibner arrived and told the doctor to leave. At first, the mayor thanked Richardson for coming to town and taking over the sheriff's office. Then he mentioned hearing about the moose sighting. Richardson confirmed that he had seen it. Kibner explained that, in Native American culture, the moose symbolized endurance and survival. He even asked Richardson to settle permanently in the town and become the full-time sheriff. Richardson replied that he would think about it. Richardson was suddenly distracted by a commotion outside. Looking through the window, he saw Deputy Blaine preventing Alex from entering her own house. Later, at the restaurant, Richardson met a bartender named Moira, who invited him to play snooker with her. Richardson agreed and asked if she had known Gunderson. Moira replied that she had, and said she felt sorry about the way he died. She explained that Gunderson had died while ice fishing, the thing he loved most. She then asked Richardson about his own story. Richardson revealed that he had served as a sheriff in Nice County before coming to Normal. There, he had married his high school sweetheart. One day, something unexpected happened. His wife shot her own father dead. Over time, they drifted apart. Richardson still called her occasionally, but she never answered. Outside his motel, Richardson found a young woman struggling with a vending machine. The moment the woman noticed the sheriff, she discreetly hid her gun. Richardson helped her get a chocolate bar from the machine. The girl introduced herself as Lori and said her dog's name was Olive. Lori's friend suddenly backed away the moment he saw the sheriff. Richardson noticed it, but ignored it and headed back to his office. While returning from the office later, Richardson discovered a truck parked in the middle of the road, with Alex sitting inside completely drunk. He climbed into the truck and asked why Blaine had stopped her from attending her father's memorial service. Alex explained that Blaine and the mayor believed she would become a distraction. Richardson took her to the sheriff's office and placed her in a jail cell, telling her that she would be safe there. Suddenly, an emergency alarm went off, indicating that a bank robbery was taking place in the town. Meanwhile, at the bank, Lori and her friend Keith held all the customers at gunpoint. Lori ordered the cashier to fill the bags with cash. The cashier only placed a small amount of money into the bag, claiming that it was all they had. Keith then ordered the cashier to take them to the vault. Inside the bank, the two men who had severed their fingers earlier were revealed to be bank guards. At the same time, one of the customers collapsed to the floor due to an asthma attack. Keith and Lori helped the man take his medicine. Seizing the opportunity, one of the guards named Haru secretly sent a signal to the Yakuza. Arata stabbed Keith, prompting Lori to shoot him on the spot. Meanwhile, Bob Odenkirk and his reinforcements arrived at the bank. He stepped out and quickly noticed Lori's dog, Olive, sitting alone inside the truck. Richardson told Blaine to cover him because he was going inside. Blaine and Mike reluctantly followed his orders. Mayor Kibner somehow caught wind of the robbery and called Blaine, ordering him to kill Sheriff Richardson immediately. Blaine and Mike took their positions and suddenly opened fire on Richardson, sending him crashing into the bank. Richardson was completely confused, having no idea why his own colleagues were shooting at him. Left with no other choice, he fired back and blew off Blaine's ear. Mike then began firing wildly, intending to kill everyone inside the bank. During the gunfight, the asthmatic customer was killed. Lori demanded to know why the cops were trying to kill Richardson. He replied that he had no idea. Pointing his gun at the cashier, Richardson asked what was really going on. The cashier explained that asking about the vault had triggered the chaos. Richardson then ordered him to open the vault immediately. The terrified cashier reluctantly obeyed, leaving Richardson stunned. Inside, the vault was filled with gold bricks and stacks of cash. Everyone stared in shock. The cashier suddenly rushed for his gun, but accidentally shot himself instead. Richardson pointed out that his own colleagues had shot at him, while Lori and Keith had not, so he decided to team up with them to escape the situation. At that moment, the bank telephone started ringing. Richardson answered it and discovered Mayor Kibner on the other end. Kibner admitted that he had ordered Deputy Blaine to kill him, but Blaine had failed, leaving Richardson stunned. Richardson mentioned that he had seen what was inside the vault and demanded to know who was behind everything. Within moments, the entire police department and most of the townspeople gathered outside the bank, revealing that they were all working with the mayor. Kibner explained that they had made a deal with the Yakuza. The Yakuza earned massive profits in America, but could not send all the money back home. When they asked the town to store part of their illegal profits in exchange for a percentage, Kibner accepted the offer without hesitation. He also admitted that anyone who opposed the arrangement met the same fate as Sheriff Gunderson. Kibner then offered Richardson a deal. He told him to kill Lori and Keith, blame them for the robbery and murders, and everything would be forgiven. Richardson refused to respond and hung up the phone. Richardson then caused a power outage across Normaltown and used a powerful gun to blow up Mayor Kibner. Together with Lori and Keith, he escaped the bank while continuously firing at Blaine and the other officers. Hearing that his stash of gold had been raided, Oyabun became furious. Richardson, Lori, and Keith escaped into Mary's yarn store. To Richardson's shock, Mary turned out to be another accomplice of the Yakuza. She fired at him with a double-barreled shotgun. Lori fought back and managed to kill her by driving a knitting needle into her throat. Meanwhile, the power was restored. Deputy Blaine and Mike regrouped inside a nearby ice cream store. Arata informed them that Oyabun himself was on his way to Normaltown to kill everyone involved. Keith had been severely wounded during the shootout, so Richardson treated his injuries. He then came up with an escape plan, saying they would head to the police station and use a snowplow to escape town. The moment they stepped out of the yarn store, a mailman opened fire on them, revealing that even he was loyal to the Yakuza. Suddenly, the owner of the hardware store attacked Richardson, dragging him inside with a hook. Richardson fought back fiercely against the large man and eventually killed him. Curious about what was hidden behind a cabinet, Richardson opened it and discovered a stash of explosives. Outside, Lori and Keith had run out of bullets while the crazed mailman continued firing at them. Keith then revealed a gold brick he had stolen earlier. Realizing that the mailman was also out of ammunition and was reloading his gun, Keith attacked him with the gold brick. However, the mailman proved too strong to take down easily. Just then, a loose signboard suddenly fell and crushed him to death. Several flares were thrown toward Deputy Blaine and the other officers. One of the cops picked one up, believing it was just a flare. Seconds later, the flare exploded, killing several officers instantly. Mike rushed toward another flare, grabbed it, and extinguished its wick, but it exploded anyway, hurling him into a snow-covered parked car. Richardson fought as though he were waging a one-man war against the entire town. Lori and Keith sneaked into the police station and attempted to start the snowplow. At that moment, Deputy Sally arrived and pointed her gun at them. Before she could shoot, Richardson suddenly appeared and accidentally slammed into her. The impact knocked over a car that had been raised on a jack, crushing Sally to death. Richardson then told Keith and Lori to drive to a nearby hospital so Keith could receive treatment, while he stayed behind to deal with the Yakuza himself. He even told them this was their second chance to start a new life together. Keith drove the snowplow out of town with Lori, and along the way, they retrieved their dog, Olive. Back inside the police station, Richardson was attacked by Moira, who was revealed to be another undercover Yakuza agent. Fortunately, Richardson was wearing a bulletproof vest. Moira confessed that she had killed Sheriff Gunderson because he was becoming a problem. Just as she prepared to execute Richardson, Alex suddenly emerged from a prison cell, grabbed Moira, and riddled her body with bullets. Richardson freed Alex and asked for her help in wiping out the Yakuza. Alex climbed into a bulletproof truck and ran over Dr. Walter before crashing the vehicle directly into the police station. Richardson then called Deputy Blaine and told him that he had planted explosives inside the vault containing the Yakuza's gold. Richardson proposed a deal. If the gold was destroyed, the Yakuza would kill everyone in town, including him. However, if they cleaned up the bank and staged everything to look like a simple car accident that accidentally triggered the alarm, they could avoid the Yakuza's wrath. Blaine quickly realized Richardson was right and agreed to cooperate. One of the Yakuza guards suggested killing Richardson on the spot, but Richardson warned him that the Yakuza would only care that he had failed again, which would likely lead to his brutal execution. Arata understood the hidden meaning and agreed to work together. Soon, everyone began cleaning up the streets and staging the scene to resemble nothing more than a car accident. Pastor Oyabun eventually arrived in Normaltown, while Richardson and Blaine waited to greet him. Blaine explained that a storm had accidentally triggered the bank alarm. Oyabun didn't appear convinced and decided to inspect the vault personally. Blaine added that a reckless driver had crashed into the bank the previous night, but the vault remained untouched. Oyabun opened the vault and found all of his treasure seemingly intact. Satisfied, he attended a celebration party organized by Deputy Blaine. During the gathering, the restaurant owner accidentally uncorked a wine bottle, unknowingly triggering a gun that fired directly into Oyabun's head, killing him instantly at the dining table. The remaining Yakuza erupted in fury over the death of their boss. Within seconds, a brutal gunfight broke out between the police and the Yakuza. Guard Arata fought loyally for his boss, but was ultimately killed by Richardson. During the bloody massacre, countless cops and Yakuza members lost their lives, leaving only Deputy Blaine, Alex, and Sheriff Richardson alive. After the chaos finally ended, Richardson walked out carrying a plate of pie. The three survivors sat together and shared the pie, reflecting on the brutal bloodbath they had endured. Richardson then removed his sheriff's insignia and handed it over to Deputy Blaine, officially passing the responsibility of sheriff on to him. 1 month later, Richardson returned to his hometown in Texas. He continued trying to contact his wife, Penny, but she never answered his calls. Then, one day, she finally responded, bringing the movie to an emotional end.